Urban Media Today talks sports with Ray Porter Jr., Vince Butts, and Trevin A. Jones on Urban Media Today Radio.
It's game time!
It's Urban Media Today talks sports. Ray Porter Jr., William Greg Hoyd Jr., Ken Rashad, and Dr. Cavill. And I don't know, Ray, why I get so excited to say your name like that. You know what? I'm going to tell you what I did.
It's the terrible towel.
You've been... no, it's definitely. I don't even.
No, man, ain't the towel.
You had to mess me up, man. I have all due respect, so that you people in Pittsburgh know, I have all due respect for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I have all due respect for Mike Tomlin. I have respect for the franchise. I love what they've done, but I'm not a Steelers fan. So that you know, every time the Steelers play the Cleveland Browns, and Pittsburgh people are not going to like what I'm about to say, I go for the Cleveland Browns every time. Anyway. Yeah, man, take that towel off, man. What we doing here today?
I know you want your own. We'll help you, man. We'll help you out.
See? We're covering HBCU sports, getting into depth about the coverage. That's why Ken Rashad is here and Dr. Cavill inside the HBCU Sports Lab and HBCUsports.com. And of course, our friend to the show, William Greg Hoyd Jr. And then Ray's here all the time, you know. And every week, you know, he puts the towel on his shoulder. So, okay, I'll get over it. But the question I posed right before before Doc got here was, we're looking at the NBA. It started Thursday night. What I was asking was, how do you gentlemen feel? Will it be successful playing in the bubble? Will it continue, or will COVID-19 take over? Coach answered the question. Ray, what do you think?
Yeah, you know, I think along the same lines as Coach. I know I've heard, you know, others have said it as well. I just think I've had an uneasy feeling about it. And not just with basketball, but with other sports as well. And I just, it's a risk. I mean, you can never blame anybody for trying to do what they're doing, trying to get a season, trying to finish what they've started, you know, in reference to the playoffs and everything. But it's a risk. With everything just happening with this pandemic and with this virus, it really is a risk. And I do have an uneasiness. And I question if they're going to be able to finish it. So that's how I feel.
So you agree with Coach? You think this is just something just waiting to blow up? Like it's just a ticking time bomb, I guess, for lack of a better way of saying it?
Yep, and I feel because it's also happening with baseball too.
Yeah, that's interesting. What was it? 19 Marlin players now have COVID-19?
Yeah, and now they're on hold at least through the weekend. You know,
one of the minority owners, he passed, or he or she passed.
Right.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So Ken, what do you think about the NBA and with it starting Thursday night, and they're playing in the bubble? I guess they did get through a couple of games. Do you think this is something that's going to last or be successful?
Well, with respect to what Brother Hoyd and what Ray indicated, I understand the sentiment behind it, but I'm of the belief that if you're going to have something like this, or if you're going to play sports, based upon what's out there right now, this is about as good as it gets. And I think when you try to compare what the NBA is doing compared to what MLB is doing, the NBA, it truly is playing in a bubble. Major League Baseball isn't playing in the bubble. So you've got NBA, I believe you got, the NHL is going to be playing in the bubble. And I believe, I think one of the soccer leagues are going to be playing in the bubble. But knock on wood with the NBA, with respect to what they're doing right now, so far, we haven't heard anything, about anyone testing positive for COVID-19. Now, granted, there was a situation with Lou Williams. He had to make a trip to go get some wings from a very prestigious strip club.
Hot wings, huh?
Hey, I heard it like this: Performing Arts Center. That's what I heard it was. He went to the Black Performing Arts Center. That's what I heard.
Hey, I'm more to believe. It isn't enough that the location is prestigious, but when the hot wings are so damn good that you still got to go to that place, that says a lot. But say what you will about the decision behind that, but when you look at what the NBA is actually doing and how seriously they're taking his act, and that the fact that he did that, and it may have very well been harmless. I really do believe he didn't really think he was doing anything that which he thought was going to be detrimental. But when you see the actions and the necessary steps that the NBA took, and which I think what he's like on a 10-day quarantine right now. He's not even going to be allowed in the bubble until he's cleared. That shows just how serious they are about who goes in and who comes out of that bubble. So I think, contrary to what we've seen with Major League Baseball, contrary to what we're hearing about what's taking place on some of these college campuses, which again, some have more resources than others, but they don't have even despite their best efforts, maybe some of the, major Power 5 schools trying to create this bubble. The NBA, based upon what we've seen so far, is about as good or as ideal of a situation that one can expect. And I think it's just simply a matter of kind of taking a wait and see approach to see just how successful it's going to be. But so far, so good.
Okay. How about you, Doc?
Yeah, I'm aligned with Ken. I think we have to be careful when we look at the bubble and non-bubble framework for that. We got a little indication in regards to TBT tournament, who did it similar to what we're hearing about the NBA and some of the other leagues in terms of Major League Soccer, the Premiership, as well as the National Hockey League in regards to putting everybody in a bubble, which is opposite of what we've seen in Major League Baseball and what we're hearing is likely for the NFL. They still have some time to change that. But that's where you get that clear demarcation when people are able to go home and do whatever they're going to do, and they get to touch in many different people, and you see what happens when that format comes back. But when you look at the bubble, when you really monitor who can come in, what takes place when somebody comes in, I think there's a higher likelihood that you're going to be able to make it through the season in some realistic fashion. And so my understanding with the TBT tournament that aired, there was one team that did get the COVID testing and tested positive, and they essentially sent them home for that, and they were able to keep on with the rest of the tournament. So we see that in this case, when you have an individual player with hope that came up that's going to this entertainment place to get the wings, as you all refer to it, which is pretty clever, I might add. I like that. In the fact, I got to remember that in terms of the checklist when I decide to partake in any type of direction, how I may communicate where I'm leaving, and such that I might have a better opportunity to make sure I can return in one piece. But with that said, when you frame that, I think it gives you a better opportunity that you can get through the tournament, because you're going to be able to get to the place. If somebody happens to test positive, you're really able to quarantine them in such a way that you can take them away without it spreading, which is the opposite of what you saw take place with the Major League Baseball and the Miami Marlins.
Yeah, and that's good stuff. You brought up the TBT tournament. I have to say shout out to Golden Eagle alumni. I think it was Marquette University alumni. They won the tournament. It's a winner-take-all tournament. I think they won $1 million. And that was in the middle of July, where they actually, I think over that weekend, they had the tournament inside the bubble, played all the games. Just like you said, Doc, one team was disqualified. So because one person had a positive test, so the whole team was gone. They didn't even play. Like you don't move past today because you tested positive, so the whole team's gone. I hate to be that player.
Can I ask a question real quick? So was that the NBA test dummy? Did the NBA put the money behind that to test them to see if conspiracy? Come on, man. Come on, what you think?
I don't know, man, because when you think about it, they always had the TBT tournament. I think if the NBA was smart, they were watching, of course, like, okay.
It's no doubt that they had all eyes and many people around to see it. So whether it was direct because they paid them or indirect, there's no question that they were watching everything and learning everything they can about how that tournament was pulled off. So great point when you talk about what took place there.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing is, and I heard this today, I never talk about the brands on TV, but I do listen and I watch. But I'm not giving them an extra shout out. So, and I mean no disrespect, but I think we brothers here, we need all the shout out we can get. But I heard somebody say it's like the MLB not playing in a bubble, the NBA playing in a bubble, and you have everybody else playing in kind of like a bubble. But the NFL is acting like there's no pandemic. I'm not getting it. I mean, you guys got to help me out. It's like, okay, I think training camps are starting. I think rookies are back, and it's like, What? It's
Yeah.
like, help
Little-
me, somebody.
I think it's a little overconfident, even to the border point of arrogance. And I can say that about the NFL. I mean, MLB as well, but I'll leave that alone. But it is definitely excellent points, gentlemen, which I said about the bubble. So that is good points, and that's in trying and planning, and that But as far as the NFL, I mean, I can give them credit for when they spoke to us about what they're trying to do with their social distancing as far as watching camp and everything. I give them that, but but it still has a weird feeling to it, weird and uneasy feeling to it. And I think they're very confident and overconfident that they're going to still get a 16 game schedule in. I just think to really consider that.
And Ray, you cover the Steelers for UrbanMediaToday.com and Urban Media Today Sports. Have you gone?
No,
you haven't gone up there, have you? Okay.
Because the way it works is it actually began on the 28th training camps, but they won't allow media until August 17th, and if they do, it's hand selected. They select, so everybody may not be able to go, but we'll still have access to stuff, transcripts, videos, and stuff like that. But it's at Heinz Field this year, and they do have a plan in place, but it's just like, man. No, I think they're a little overconfident, just my opinion.
So you guys might ask, Trev, where are you going with this? Well, I'm covering over everything else briefly because the second half of this show and the meat of the show is going to be about the HBCU platform, the landscape, and what's happening and how the pro teams are doing what they're doing with this COVID-19 situation. But then HBCUs are kind of doing something a little bit different. And in some respects, they're getting positive, I guess, feedback or coverage, and in other respects, you kind of questioning like, what's going on? And I got two gentlemen right here that cover it. That's why they're here, because we're going to talk about it. I know, Ken, you broke the story on FAMU, signing the waivers being signed by players, which I can't wait for you to tell me what's going on there. That's some good stuff. And Doc, I know you're down there in Houston, and there's a lot going on in Houston. With the SWAC. So I can't wait for us to touch on that too. All that being said, the bottom line is the second half of this show is going to be off the hook. But before we get there, Notre Dame is joining the ACC. Is it for 1 year, or do you gentlemen think that this is going to be an ongoing thing? Because Notre Dame is like the only college or one of the first major colleges to have a TV deal specifically with their university.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think this is a one-time shot, them joining the ACC for football, because they've been in the ACC for basketball? Or do you think this is just a one and done, or do you think this would be a continuation? I'll start with you, Ken.
Well, I guess based upon what little I do know, I guess the one question with respect to that TV deal is, and I'm sure this is a question the ACC is asked, are we going to get some of that TV money? Because, look, I mean, I don't think people really understand what the purpose of a value or the value that a conference brings, that ultimately everybody are considered, everyone within the conference is considered an equal part and a partner. And that ultimately this really is about generating as much money for everyone involved as possible. So, the thing is that if Notre Dame wants to take advantage of some of the things or some of the benefits that comes with being a member of the ACC is more within its right to say, well, you know what, we are we are entitled to receive some of the benefits that comes with being a football program at Notre Dame. So revenue being what it is and everybody being equal, what's up with that?
Good one. How about you, Doc?
Yeah, I think what's interesting in that is when you really get into the contractual arrangements and the particulars. Ken kind of alluded to this in a lot of ways when you're talking about that arrangement between an independent and a conference. What is unique that many people may or may not know is the fact that Notre Dame plays this pseudo ACC conference schedule in football. They are a full member in every other sport, so they get a percentage of the money of ACC for all other sports, namely basketball is where that money is really in particular of interest. But in football, as we talked about, is you have the NBC deal. Now, currently, the ACC has an ABC/ESPN deal. So first of all, contractually, how does it work? How many more years does Notre Dame have on their contract before they could even make a real decision in regards to partnering with the ACC in a full-time capacity. What's going on now? Stranger things have happened. You've seen these kind of flex type of contracts. You have something as a conference-wise when you look at the Pac-12, as they have this pseudo ESPN, Fox Sports type of contract that they work out. And then you have the tiered system, which makes it really complicated when you're talking about tier 1, tier 2, tertiary tier rights, and how can all that confluence of circumstances come in. But long story short, I think this is a bit of a test run. I think it is becoming more challenging for a program to have an independent type schedule and still be able to put themselves in serious position to get that Final Four bid to what now everybody wants is the FBS tournament from that framework. So I say all that to say in this is I think, no, not so fast, because I think the contracts were precluded to happen, but I certainly think that the powers that be at Notre Dame are wanting to see how their fans receive this. One of the biggest problems that Notre Dame has been in making this decisions outside of the contract is their fans have been very loyal to the idea that they have this independent status as a football program. And so depending on how they see the fans reacting for that, and let's say somehow they play the season, because I have some serious consideration, will that take place with what we see with the COVID-19 and positive test rates, the hospitalization rates, and not to mention, unfortunately, the 150 plus lives that we've lost due to COVID-19 in the inaction of leadership from the very top, is the fact that if they get into a championship game, do their fans show up? Likely, yes. How will they receive this? Will they like the idea of being able to play for this ACC championship in this game if all this takes place? And I think ultimately that will go a long way in determine, will they decide to sever their independent ties, which I say is pseudo because they play 5 games in the ACC, and go to full membership in the ACC?
I think, Doc, all of that is mute, because if they do have a championship, I don't think nobody's going to be allowed in the stadiums anyway. So during the season and the championship game, it won't matter if the fans show up because they're going to watch it on TV. It's Urban Media Today Talk Sports. It got Dr. Kenyatta Cavill inside the HBCU Sports Lab, Mr. Ken Rashad, Brother Ken Rashad, but HBCUsports.com. William Greg Hoyd Jr., friend to the program, playing for envelopes, and my man Ray Porter Jr. It's halftime. We're going to come back with the second half, and we're going to get into HBCU coverage right after this brief timeout.
Urban Media Today is your source for entertainment, news, sports, and lifestyle. It's your online resource for health and fitness, providing tips to decrease your heart disease or increase your good spirits. When you can't find who made the top picks in HBCU sports or what part of the country is most exciting or affordable to travel with the entire family, Urban Media Today is there to provide you with all that you need and just a click away. Log on to urbanmediatoday.com now. Find us on social media. Urban Media Today, your lifestyle information and blog website.